another video. Today I wanted to share some of the goals and intentions I set for myself as an artist this year. I carefully thought through each of these smaller goals with my long-term goals clear in mind, but I also wanted to make sure they were as easy as possible for me to reach and completely within the scope of what I'll realistically be able to handle on top of my other responsibilities this year. It's all too often that I ambitiously set up all sorts of plans, upload schedules, drawing schedules, and numerous daily tasks that I would hold myself very tightly accountable to by means of daily habit tracking, calendars written in pen, and so on, but then ultimately I would fail to stick to everything because it was just not a realistic workload. Ambition is a good quality that gives you the push you need to go after what you want, but the older I get, the more I recognize the importance of modesty also, fully knowing and accepting your limitations and being reasonable with yourself. And if you balance ambition and modesty well enough, you might not get everything done that you've ever dreamed of in that 1 year period, but you'll definitely achieve a lot more by the end of the year than if you had burned yourself out right away at the very beginning. I also want to make sure that I mention that it's really never too late or a bad time to start setting goals for yourself or to start taking action to achieve those goals. New beginnings are exciting and can work as a great starting parameter for a lot of people, but if you happen to fall off too soon or not start things on time like you expected, it's way too easy to get discouraged and possibly even paralyze yourself from taking any action again until the next new beginning. It could turn into the perpetual, I'll just try again tomorrow, or next week, or month, or year. But why not just start now? Time and calendars are a construct, they're not real. What is real is the present moment in our lives that we're living right now. It's an act of love for yourself to stop putting off the things that you dream of doing or the things you love most and start taking small, easy steps towards your goals at a pace most reasonable for you. Moving slow is way better than staying still, in my opinion. Consistency, sustainability, and modesty, those are the main intentions I'm personally going into 2024 with as an artist, but also as a person in general. So going into my goals and plans for this year, I want to continue to build my skills as an artist by regularly studying the basics and fundamentals. I intend to do this through online resources such as video tutorials from master artists and art teachers here on YouTube, a few on Patreon, websites like Line of Action that allow me to study things like dynamic figures and animals and expressions, and through art books as well. I own a few art books from some artists I look up to already, but I'd like to seek out a few more that I've seen recommended from other artists that I follow that do a good job teaching topics like color theory, lighting, and other techniques that I can implement in my own style and illustrations. And I don't want to always be too broad in my studies. I want to make sure I'm always narrowing down and studying specific areas too that I want to improve in, such as outfits and costumes, character creation and design, composing scenes and backgrounds of various settings and seasons. I have a feeling a good portion of this more specific study will also naturally occur from my comic projects, because when you're working on a comic, you often come across objects or settings or poses that you're not right away familiar with, and you sort of have to stop and practice that thing in order to be able to draw it and then be able to progress in your comic, if that makes sense. All of this intended study with the goal to improve my skills, but also expand my visual library and pool of creativity overall. And with that in mind, I'd also like to let myself consume more media in 2024, like more books, movies, and video games too. I get a lot of inspiration from various life experiences and adventures, but also by consuming media, which I don't do as much anymore, I feel like. I feel that the time in my life when I was most creative and imaginative was when I was a kid, and I had way more time to read and play video games and watch movies and cartoons. As an adult, I've gotten well back into reading and have a library full of books to be read, and I also happen to have a library full of unfinished games from over the years that I still desire to return to and finish. So yeah, deepening my creative well will also help me in that way to enjoy more of the things that I already own. And so I can record all of my progress studying art and being creatively inspired by means of my sketchbook. I'm not going to hold myself to a strict schedule of this, but I would like to be using my sketchbook as often as possible, if not at least a little every day. It's so important to be consistently practicing art and staying in the habit of at least putting pencil to paper, even if you aren't immediately inspired. Plus, as a journaler, I view sketchbooks also as a journal in the sense that they speak to the time period of your life that you worked on them, your level of skill at the time, your interests, inspirations, and how much you may have proved in the duration from the first page to the last. And I don't want to rush this process, but I also feel that in the past I've completed sketchbooks so slowly, especially because of intermittent breaks in between. So this year, I'd like to set the goal of completing at least 2 sketchbooks, just 2. And if I can do that, I'll know I've been able to remain consistent like I wanted to be in practicing art and fleshing out the characters and worlds that I craft and the stories that I write, and I'll have at least 2 beautiful books to show for it. Regarding comics, I have 2 active comic projects, one webcomic and one manga. The end goal is to eventually get the manga self-published in a physical format, but I recognize that just isn't gonna happen this year realistically, and I'm at peace with that. The webcomic won't be anywhere near completion either in its entirety, but I'd be more likely to complete the spring season arc at least and get at least a little bit of progression into the summer arc. So my goals surrounding my comic project is simply just to progress and get as many pages done as I possibly can throughout the year, as well as improve in my comic making in general, because that sure has a lot of room for improvement. And if I can do that, I'll be very satisfied. Regarding my style, usually a common goal is to push the boundaries of one's comfort zone and explore beyond it. But this year, I actually would like to give more attention to my comfort zone because I have it for a reason. I want to practice drawing more art in a style that's comfortable, familiar, makes me happy, and it's easy to replicate more or less. I feel I've been pushing beyond my comfort zone so much recently that overall my works as of late have been kind of inconsistent and I feel like a little voiceless. So a goal of mine this year is to continue exploring all sorts of ways of drawing because I still like to do that. I still like to draw all sorts of different ways and in various styles, but I also want to allow myself to draw in the very cute, silly, stylized way that just makes me happiest and not feel any type of pressure to always make art that is too fine or mature looking because that's just not me. And there's a ton of extremely skilled artists out there, and at times I feel some pressure to also make very highly skilled, master detailed works, especially in the semi-real arena, but I feel I may have felt a pressure to move in a direction that's just not right for my art. I think my art resonates the most with my heart and has the strongest voice when it's in a very simple, cute, colorful style and not trying to be anything else, if that makes sense. Sort of on a similar note, when I draw digitally, I feel I tend to always want to make a piece finished and rendered before posting it, but that can incur a fair bit of pressure too. This might seem like a silly goal, but I want to get more comfortable making and or posting unrendered digital art and sketches. I always love seeing people's digital sketches and doodles. There's such a lovable charm to them. They're so pleasing to look at, and they don't take away from the beauty of their regular art either. It's also in this small way that I can continue to fight the perfectionist tendencies that have a firm hold on my life. That said, I do want to make more full illustrations as well. I want to continue building a proper portfolio for my art that I can look back on myself, and so I'll be able to properly demonstrate my skills to potential consumers of my art and comics. For my social media platforms, I have a few more little goals. This year, I'd like to aim for between 30 to 40 YouTube videos. I know it's a little bit ambitious, but I feel like I can do it. One video a week all year long is a little bit too much for me, not sustainable for me in the long run, but I do have a lot of ideas for videos, and I'm really excited to continue building this platform here, and I think this is a realistic range that I can post this year if I really work hard at it. I think I'd rather move to YouTube as my main platform rather than Instagram. I really love the community here. I love making videos. I like to make the kind of videos I like to watch, and it's really encouraging to see the support and growth and positive reception I've gotten here, so thank you guys so much for that, truly. Regarding Patreon, I'd like to continue my regular monthly rewards for supporters, basically just the way I've been able to since last summer. And this includes early access to comic pages before they go live anywhere else, full tours of my sketchbooks, studio vlogs, and an art raffle. I feel good with what I offer, and I don't plan to change it too much. I feel like I found a nice balance between new content that isn't too strenuous on my schedule and behind the scenes content that would have been made anyway, so I won't make too much changes there, and I'd like to pretty much continue what I have been doing because I think I'm on a good roll. Regarding Instagram is such a tough platform for me to set any goals for, honestly. I did actually have a daily story goal that I started at the beginning of the year, but that fell through pretty early and proved unsustainable as I'm learning that it's sort of directly counter to the core of my personality to share moments of my somewhat boring life every single day. I do like sharing bits of my life once in a while, but I also really enjoy and thrive in having a measure of privacy on social media, so daily stories is no longer one of my goals. Reels, I'm just burnt out making in general, to be completely honest. It's something I don't even want to bother with anymore. I'm not going to concern myself with reaching new eyes on Instagram. I think I'd just prefer to use it right now as simply a platform to share my art, maybe once a week or so. I'd like to have some sort of consistency there, but I don't want to set any specific goals or parameters just in case I can't fulfill them. I sort of want to just return to the appeal of early internet art sharing sites in a way with Instagram, with less pressure to conform to what's popular. And this goes for Artful too. I'd like to kind of use them both similarly. And the last goal that I have this year as an artist is to improve in character design. I want to make more designs of characters that aren't necessarily attached to any specific story of mine, so I have more freedom to practice and explore different types of designs. If I get any good at this, I'd love to eventually offer my characters as adopts for others. I don't think I would charge money though. I think what I'd rather do is a trade system where one pays for one of my adopts by means of their own art for like another character of mine, if that makes sense. I've adopted a couple characters that way in the past year on Toy House, and I think it's a really good system that's accessible to a lot of people. So yeah, I'd like to improve in character design just for the sake of building my character design skills. And if people like those designs and I don't have a use for them, I'd like to be able to give them away like that. So yeah, the overall theme of the goals I've set for myself this year involve keeping a good pace of consistency, improving from years prior, and doing things to take care of myself and encourage creativity. We are avoiding burnout this year as much as we can. So there aren't too many numbers-based goals this time around, just more habit and behavior type goals. Still measurable through my works, but less pressure inherently, in my opinion. This year, I want to just draw things that make me happy and inspire others to do the same. And that's where I'll wrap up the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see and you're interested in what I do, consider subscribing to keep up with what I'll make in the future, or checking me out on my other socials listed in the description. If you're a returning viewer, I can't thank you enough for being here. Whether my videos are inspiring or just entertaining for one reason or another, I hope I can continue to create videos that you want to watch. Please consider liking the video too, and commenting letting me know what your art goals are for the year. Okay, see you next time. Bye!